What's up, everybody? I'm Danny DeVries with Edge Products, and today I'm going to walk you through the second step of the Stage 1 install from Edge Products. Now, we've already got the CTS2 installed on this truck. I'm going to walk you through the installation of the jammer cold intake on this 2013 Denali. Let's check it out. So the first step on installing the jammer cold air intake is we got to remove all the factory components. Now, when we're going to remove this, you want to make sure that you keep track of your air filter minder, your mass airflow sensor, and your intake sensor. All those components are going to be mounted onto the jammer cold air intake once we get this off. So let's go ahead and remove this and get to the install.
The first step we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and remove the mass airflow sensor as well as the intake sensor and the air filter minder. Once we've got these things removed, we can go ahead and remove the top part of the intake housing as well as the filter. This is going to allow us access to get down to the bottom of this thing and pull out the base of the air intake housing. Once you remove the stock air intake housing, you'll notice that there's 4 bolts and a metal pan at the bottom. Go ahead and remove those, but save the bolts for later. We're going to need those later to install the new housing base of the jammer cold air intake. Once we've got all that removed, we can go ahead and loosen the hose clamps on the stock air intake tube and remove that as well.
So now that we've got the stock air intake out, now let's go ahead and install the jammer.
The first step we're going to do in installing the jammer cold air intake is we're going to install the base back to where the stock base came out from. And for this, you're going to need those 4 bolts that you removed that metal pan from to bolt the base back down onto the truck.
So now that we've got the base installed, now we're going to go ahead and reinstall our sensors, the mass airflow sensor as well as the intake sensor. Now for these, we've got 2 replaceable gaskets here, new gaskets for the system. So this gasket right here is going to go right over this, just like that. And then this, we will remove the stock gasket here and replace it with the new provided gasket from the jammer install kit.
Once we've got the new gaskets installed onto the sensors, it's time to screw them in with the provided screws in the install kit from the jammer cold air intake.
The next step, now that we got all the sensors installed, is to align the filter and tighten down the provided hose clamp. So now that we've got the housing and intake installed, what we're going to do is we're going to install the hose bellow to the intake tube with the provided hose clamps. And all this is going to assemble together just like you removed the stock one, and you're going to be almost complete.
For this next step, we're going to start by installing the inlet hose. Once you slip one end of the hose over the compressor inlet, fasten the hose clamp in place using one of the supplied hose clamps. The next step, we're going to go ahead and take the intake tube and mount it into the intake hose. We're going to tighten this down with the provided hose clamp as well. Last but not least, we're going to take our hose bellow and mount it onto the air intake housing. Once we've got this secured, we're going to fasten down the 4 screws, connecting the top of the housing to the bottom of the housing, and we're going to be good to go.
The best part about this intake is that paired up with that CTS2, it completes the Stage 1 kit and pairs perfectly to give this truck optimal performance. To find out which jammer cold air intake is right for you, go to edgeproducts.com.